Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Kenzie if you're new here. Thank you so much for being here today. I feel like it's been a minute since I have sat down and just talked to you guys. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I know we've been doing so many makeovers outdoors recently, but it's actually super cloudy today. So I thought it would be a great day to bring the filming inside and kind of address some of the questions that you guys have asked about my bedroom. My husband Nick and I recently completely renovated our primary bedroom and it was quite the journey. I have a few videos about it, but I thought I would just make this video so I can explain the process to you guys and how we went about the whole makeover from start to finish. So you can see where we started off and how exactly we achieved the end result. So let's start from the very beginning. Ever since we moved into this house, we have had carpet in our room, and I love the coziness of carpet, but it is just not practical at all for our family. So the first thing that we did was rip out all the carpets. Thank God we did that because that made the biggest difference in the overall design of the space. Once I saw all the floors down, it really gave me a good base or platform to work off of to design the rest of the space. We installed these floors ourselves. We, as in Nick and my dad, also helped him. So these waterproof floors were actually gifted from the flooring factory. The brand is McMillian, and this is the color Carmel by the Coastal Collection. I feel like it brightens up the space and it makes it feel so much bigger, so much more light and airy and natural feeling. We love the beachy, light and airy vibes throughout our house, and these floors truly made the biggest difference. I don't think our room would have turned out as good if we wouldn't have replaced these floors because they just were the icing on the cake. So we picked out the floors not only for this room, but we're actually placing our floors in the entire house. So we chose the color based on what's gonna look good everywhere, not just in this room. But I am so glad that I decided to design everything after we put the floors in because I could really see the color in person and how it looked. It laid the perfect foundation for the rest of the design, which is what we're going to talk about right now. Okay, so I have my computer right in front of me. I'm gonna screen record and show you the whole process because it's just going to be easier for me to show you on my computer. If I'm looking at it, then I can explain what I'm doing. We're screen record at the same time so you guys can see it as well, and we're all looking at the same thing. So to plan my makeovers and honestly my whole life, this is where I keep my calendar, my notes, my schedule, my to-do list. This is where I keep everything. So it's called Millinote, and this is my little home page. But today we're going to be talking about the bedroom. Our bedroom is all said and done. It's complete. So this board is complete too. I made sure to put in our final lookbook and a gallery and also the final bedroom makeover reveal video. So this is what it looks like complete. But when I was first starting out, I was making different boards for every little thing that I was doing. So the first board that I made is this inspo board. So what's under my inspo card is our mood board. And when you click on the mood board, this is what you see. This is kind of the mood, the vibe, everything that I am going for in our room. There's different aspects about these different kinds of pictures that I like. For instance, I really like this shady lady tree. I was really inspired by that. I think it looks very coastal, very natural, and I love the realness of it. So that picture alone inspired me to get a real shady lady tree, and I did. It is doing okay, by the way. I really love the woven light fixtures. I think that they are beautiful, so I know I wanted to incorporate a woven light fixture. I love the white linen, very creamy and neutral, almost lived in sort of feeling of the bedding. I love that. I feel like it feels very light and airy and natural. I put a picture of the beach, a white sand beach with some blue water, because I love all the different tones of this picture. So I kind of use this picture to inspire the rest of these pictures. And for my inspo, I use Pinterest, and I also use different interior design books that I have. I also look on different interior designers' websites like McGee & Co., Amber Interiors, just different websites like that. They always have so many different inspiration pictures. And coffee table books too. I always save anything that I remotely like on Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok. There's so many different ways to get inspiration from. So anytime I ever see inspiration, I always make sure I save it for later so I can come back to it and add it to my mood board. Another thing I noticed that pretty much all of these pictures have are white paint. And I immediately knew that I wanted to be careful about this white paint because I didn't want it to be stark white and I didn't want it to feel cold. But again, I still wanted it to feel coastal and airy and natural, and I wanted it to brighten up the space. So after a whole bunch of different white paint swatches, we decided to go with Creamy by Sherwin-Williams. We put the swatches on a few different spots in our walls in our room, and we loved it. All the rest of the swatches felt a little bit too stark white for me. I felt like it was gonna feel a little bit cold. I didn't want it to feel like a doctor's office white. I wanted it to feel a very warm, creamy white. So that's exactly what we chose, and this color is actually called Creamy by Sherwin-Williams. So very easy to remember, and it's one of my all-time favorite colors now. It is just the perfect creamy white color. Another thing that kind of bounces off the mood board is I pick my texture palette and my color palette as well. So of the different textures I wanted to use for this room, I wanted to lean more towards a lot of natural, organic fibers and materials. So I have jute, I have wicker, linen, and wood. I love the natural, earthy feel of these materials, and they just flow off of each other really nicely. They're beigey colors mixed with some creams. It's really important for me to have different textures throughout my spaces because it just brings more interest to the space. For my color palette, I chose white, creams, taupes, browns, and oaks. This is supposed to be like an oak wood color. It's the closest color that I could get to wood. So we're sticking to neutrals, all very calm, earthy, neutral colors. So once we created the mood board is when I started making the timeline. So our timeline is a very rough estimate of when we want to complete the project. And I kind of guessed for the different due dates. I will say I had to go back in here and change these dates quite a bit because things ran a lot longer than expected. We ran into quite a few hiccups and issues. So there's definitely some hiccups that extended our timeline a little bit, but it's always a good reference to go back to know when everything was supposed to be done, how you're doing on time, if we can speed anything up a little bit more, or if we need to maybe reevaluate the timing of everything. So this is great. It's also so satisfying to check off whenever you've done something, because sometimes when you're doing huge projects like this, it can feel a little overwhelming when you know that you have so much more left to do. And sometimes it feels like you didn't even get anything done and haven't even done anything at all, when in reality, you have done so much. You've replaced the floors, you've done the molding. So it's just nice to keep track of the progress of what you've already done and what you still need to do. So once we made a rough timeline of when we wanted to finish everything by is once I started doing the design process. And I kind of did the whole design process with having the budget in mind. So under our budget card, I have a furniture board, and this is kind of how I laid everything out. I just made a table and I just said the furniture, the brand that it's by, the cost, the quantity, and then the total that I had to pay. So you can see that some of these are gifted and then some of these I did purchase on my own. This was a great table to come back to every time I saw something new that I wanted and wondering if it fit in the budget. I have one for furniture, I have one for the different decor pieces that I have, and just the rough estimate of what I'm going to be spending on this room. I also made a budget for the different reno cost, and that includes a lot of our molding pieces, like our trim, the paint, all of the things that we needed to buy in order to do the more of the cosmetic things. So I wanted to budget out the different categories, and it's just easier that way. So once we have a rough table of the budget is when I started planning out the entire design. So for my designs, I use the software Spoke to create all of my designs. I do that for the designs I'm creating for my house. I also do it for if I'm creating any client. My husband and I have an interior design business, and we occasionally will design other people's homes. So if we have any clients, we use Spoke as well. You can kind of see how the design translates to the real life picture. This was so helpful in deciding different furniture pieces to pick out, different lighting, the curtains, the rug. I was able to play around and see what I liked and what I didn't, and I could change different things out. So that was super convenient for me in the design process. So after we had our budget down, the floors are installed, is when we could move on to the next step, which was designing the wall moldings. So I made a few different elevations. I measured our walls and I drew out some different molding options, and we ended up going with these molding plans. And I made a separate elevation for every wall because every wall is going to be slightly different for a few different reasons. So for example, this back wall was a little bit tricky because the windows are different sizes and we wanted the bed to be in the middle of the room. The molding without the curtains is going to look a little bit funky, and that's okay. But having an elevation like this where we could draw out and play with the different measurements and just see what looks best was super helpful. This side wall over here was a little bit different because there's a door. So we wanted to kind of go off the width of the door to make everything feel even. So we measured the width of the door and then used that as a guide to make similar blocks of molding through the rest of the wall. So we kind of have 5 different blocks, sort of, if you count the door. The wall is not even. You can't divide it by 5 evenly, so we had to adjust a few measurements here and there, but because we had these plans made, it was super easy to do that. So we didn't have to do it right on spot. We could actually look at our plans and just follow that guide. For the other wall, we did the same sort of block pattern. We just measured a similar width of the blocks on the other wall as we did for this wall, and it turned out great. I absolutely love how we did the molding. I included a little lookbook here, so whenever I want to come back and look to see how it turned out, I can, because you can just see how the plan goes from actual plans to real life in these pictures, and it's just so fun to go back and look at them. We used a 3-inch board for the bigger pieces, and that's just a furring strip board, the cheapest board that you could get, and we just sanded it down super smooth and used a ton of primer to get it even more smooth, and wood filler. And then on the sides, we used a 1 3/4 inch trim to kind of mold out and frame out those furring strips. We kind of did a picture frame in the middle of that, so we cut the angles at a 45-degree angle, so it made a box in the middle of our bigger box of furring strips. So once all the molding was done is when we painted everything. We had to wood fill everything, sand it down smooth, wood fill it again, and then sand lightly over that with some finer sandpaper. And then we primed it, painted it, and it was good to go. We actually color drenched it, which means we painted everything the exact same color. All the window trim, the baseboards, all the molding, the drywall, everything was creamy by Sherwin-Williams. Even the ceiling, everything, we color drenched it to be the exact same color. So the room feels bigger and more cohesive, and so it just feels calmer. I love how it turned out. I wouldn't want it any other way. It looks perfect. I'm so glad that we color drenched it. This platform Milano is also really cool because you can add different like reactions and emojis to your boards. You can add different comments and whatnot too, which is cool because you can share it with other people if they wanted to add anything to it or edit it. This is really nice when I'm designing a space for a client and they can kind of tell me their comments about it, what they want to change, and just like ask their different questions. The whole sharing and editing aspect of Milano is so nice. So once I had the final design to go off of and everything was painted, the floors were done, is when fun parts started happening. We started purchasing all of our furniture and bringing all of that in. We got a new bed frame, we got new nightstands, we got a new TV stand, a new mirror. There is so many new furniture pieces that we got, but all of these furniture pieces did the most for this room. They really completed this entire space. We got a new bed from Soft Frame, and it's really cool. It's almost like a cloud-like material. It reminds me of the cloud bed from Restoration Hardware. I absolutely love it. We also decided to add in a barn door, mostly because I really wanted a door to separate the bathroom and the room, but I didn't want it to feel too farmhousey. So we decided to paint the barn door the exact same creamy color as what we had on the walls, so it feels more blended in and so it doesn't take away from the molding that we already did. So we painted it that color, and we also put it on backwards. We put the door on backwards because if we didn't do that, then the brackets would show in the front, and that just looks a little too farmhousey for our taste. So I wanted it to be a little bit more minimal, so we turned the door backwards and put it that way, so just the two screws are showing, and I love that so much better. We added a mirror right next to the sliding barn door on the right wall in between the molding, mostly because I needed a mirror. It's really practical for me, and because it opens up the space and makes it feel so much bigger. I love the organic, very unique shape on the arch. This is from Target, and it was super affordable too. So once all the furniture was placed is when I gathered all of our new decor that I have recently purchased. And a lot of this decor I actually got from Olive Atelier from a recent online drop. And these are all items that I've been eyeing for a while, and they're all staple decor pieces that you can use year round, no matter the season. And they would go with seasonal decor too. So these are all reusable items that I know I'm gonna be using for the rest of my life. They're found pieces, they're vintage, and I just thought that it was time to splurge in higher quality, more unique pieces. So most of my new decor is from Olive Atelier. Some I get from TJ Maxx when I find a gem here and there. And some is also from Amazon as well. I love to mix old decor pieces with new to balance out the space and to make it feel a little bit more rustic, and again, to give that natural, organic feel. But I love how the decor turned out in here. Another thing in the space that I realized made the biggest difference in the end were our curtains. These curtains were gifted from the brand Nicetown. They changed their name. They emailed me their new name. I will have to leave it down below. The Hues or something like that. They completely rebranded after I posted that last video, but they gifted me these beautiful Venetian linen curtains. I love the texture of these. I will say they were a little bit stinky coming out of the bag, which is kind of a good sign. That's how you know that they're real linen. Love these curtains. I mean, they made the biggest difference in this space. The picture that I chose for the centerpiece is from Desenio. I had the biggest size printed out. I will leave it linked down below. And also the frame is the oak frame, which is also from Desenio, also in the biggest size. So once the decor and everything was put together, all the furniture was in, is when this space was complete.
Just where it was needed, gleaming black as night, cloistered in injustice, dead in the eye of time. Nobody is losing.
This primary bedroom makeover project definitely took a little bit longer than we anticipated, but honestly, all of the hiccups, everything that we went through, it was so worth it. We love how it turned out. I feel so grateful for all of the brands that we collaborated and partnered with for this makeover. They really helped make this makeover possible, and I couldn't be grateful enough. I just really feel like we found our style with this room, and I know you guys can see how happy I am with it, because I just have never been so happy with this space. And now it's time to turn everything else in our house exactly how this space looks and feels, because we just love it so much. So when I was done with everything, I made sure to go in to my Milano boards and update the final lookbook or gallery, so when I want to look back on this space like I'm doing right now, I can. So I made a little gallery of the different pictures of the final results, because honestly, whenever I take these final reveal shots, my room will probably never look this good, decorated, or clean again. I like to have these final reveal shots all in one place so I can reference back to them later on in the future, and if I ever need them for like Instagram or whatnot, then I have them. Another thing that I also linked at the end just for my reference was my final YouTube video showing the reveal, which also shows a whole bunch of after shots and whatnot, and just the final process of everything. So I also linked that, which is cool. You can link that. There's so many different like features and things that you can do on MillianOut, which I truly, truly appreciate. I love how I can insert a photo or a note or a link or a maps. There's so many different things that you can play around with on MillianOut, so that's really appreciative of that. I love MillianOut. I use it for everything, not just for planning my makeovers, but for keeping my entire life in one place. If you want to download MillianOut, it is available. It's free with no time limit. Highly recommend. You can sign up using the link down below in the description box. Thank you so much to MillianOut for partnering with me on today's video. Let me know what you guys thought of this primary bedroom makeover, and let me know what you guys thought of this video today. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. You are truly the best. We will see you in a few days in a new video. Bye.